Good morning and welcome. We're going to give people a minute or so to get in and then we will get started. All right. Again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, an introduction to ClassroomWISE and mental health literacy. Our speaker today is Stefanie Winfield. This webinar is brought to you by the Great Lakes MHTTC and SAMHSA. The Great Lakes HTTC, MHTTC, and PTTC are funded under the following cooperative agreements. The opinions expressed in this webinar are the views of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the official position of DHHS or SAMHSA. The MHTTC network believes that words matter and uses affirming, respectful, and recovery-oriented language in all of its activities. If you are having technical issues, please individually message Stefanie Bellman or Christina Spanbauer in the chat section at the bottom of your screen, and they'll be happy to help you. If you have questions for the speaker, please put them in the Q&A section, also at the bottom of your screen, and we will address them at the end of the webinar. A copy of the PowerPoint slides, as well as the recording and any handouts, will be available on the MHTTC website within a week. You will be directed to a link at the end of this presentation to a very short survey. We would really appreciate it if you could fill it out. It probably takes about 3 minutes, and it's how we report our activities back to SAMHSA. We will be using automated captioning during the presentation today, and certificates of attendance will be sent to all who attend the full session, and they will be sent via email. If you'd like to see what else we're doing, please follow us on social media. And I am excited today that our presenter is Stefanie Winfield. Stefanie is an adjunct faculty instructor at the University of Denver Graduate School of Social Work. In her past role as school mental health lead for the Mountain Plains MHTTC, Stefanie focused on providing intensive technical assistance and training to educators, teachers, administrators, and all school staff on ways to improve and enhance school mental health. Stefanie has extensive experience working in schools promoting youth sexual health, conflict and anger management, behavioral health education, and school-based healthcare. With over 20 years of experience working with nonprofits and community organizations, Stefanie has done everything from grant management and implementation to program and outcome evaluation, training and facilitation areas. She has experience integrating mental health education programs into the curriculum for students and staff within the Chicago and West Cook County Public Schools. In partnership with the National Alliance for Mental Health, the Metro Suburban, Angela developed a program to help decrease student stress and implement mindfulness in the classrooms. She has also worked with Chicago Family Services, providing parenting education with efforts to get parents reunited with their children. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Stefanie.
Great. Thanks so much for that introduction and for having me here today. I'm really excited to be with you and to give an overview and introduction to this new resource of ClassroomWISE and talk about mental health literacy in schools. So we're gonna dig into ClassroomWISE, which is a free 3-part package for K-12 educators and school personnel to support student mental health. And we're going to talk about how you might use it and integrate it into your current mental health programming at your schools or in your districts. ClassroomWISE was developed and created in partnership between the Mental Health Technology Transfer Center Network and the National Center for School Mental Health, which is based at the University of Maryland. So our objectives for today really are just to learn a little bit more about ClassroomWISE and how it was developed and what it offers, learn some strategies for how that are embedded within the course to address student well-being and support students in the classroom, and identify talking points of how you might support ClassroomWISE utilization in your schools or districts. So I want to give you a little bit of background on how ClassroomWISE came to be. In 2019, our network, the MHTTC network, was asked by our funder, which is SAMHSA, to develop a training package to assist educators in supporting the mental health of students in the classroom. So we partnered with the National Center for School Mental Health, who had a lot of experience in this area. We worked with the National Center to conduct an environmental scan of educator mental health literacy training and resources that were already available in the field, and also conducted a national needs assessment to help us understand what educators, school mental health staff, and mental health educators and leaders across the country felt were really needed for teachers to better support students in their classroom. We reviewed the results of the environmental scan and needs assessments and developed a resource called Supporting Student Mental Health Resources to Prepare Educators, and we'll put a link for that in the chat. And this resource really describes the roles of educators in supporting student mental health, and also provides a list of already existing resources and trainings that instruct educators on mental health literacy. From that work, we also conducted some focus groups with a diverse group of teachers from different grade levels and ethnic backgrounds and years of experience, and had one-on-one interviews with mental health and education leaders. So the resulting product is ClassroomWISE, and this was a collaborative effort across our 10 regional MHTTC centers, including the National Hispanic and Latino Center, the National American Indian and Alaska Native Center, the National Coordinating Office, and as I mentioned, the National Center for School Mental Health. So if you're not from the Great Lakes regions and you have not connected with your regional center yet, as you can see, there's one in every part of the country, please let us know in the chat, we'll connect you. So I want to give you an introduction, a brief overview of ClassroomWISE. So we're going to play this video. Hopefully it's going to work.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot on them.
On behalf of the MHTTC Network and our partner, the National Center for School Mental Health at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, welcome to ClassroomWISE. Funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the MHTTC Network, Mental Health Technology Transfer Center Network, includes 10 regional centers, a National American Indian and Alaska Native Center, a National Hispanic and Latino Center, and our Network Coordinating Office. We provide free training and technical assistance to help disseminate and implement evidence-based mental health prevention, treatment, and recovery practices.
Through our School Mental Health Initiative, we provide technical assistance on the implementation of school mental health services to states, tribes, districts, and schools. Please be sure to connect with your MHTTC regional or national focus area center to find out about training and technical assistance in your area.
Funded by the Health Resources and Services Administration, the National Center for School Mental Health focuses on advancing research, training, policy, and practice in school mental health. We encourage you to engage with our National Center to access resources and support as you build and enhance your school mental health system. We also invite you to access our free online portal, the SHAPE system, to assess and improve your multi-tiered system of mental health and well-being support for students and school staff.
ClassroomWISE, Well-Being Information and Strategies for Educators, is a 3-part package that assists educators in supporting the mental health of students in the classroom. We started by talking to educators and mental health and education leaders across the country about what information and resources would be most helpful. We also conducted an environmental scan of educator mental health literacy training and resources.
We're bringing this to you because we know that educators are critical in supporting our students' well-being and overall mental health.
I think mental health and learning about mental health is crucial for every teacher, no matter what level you teach. We all deal with it.
Mental health training is so important for educators because they're in a position to know students really well. They know their students' strengths and their weaknesses. They have an understanding about what their needs are.
The course will go through not only how you can create safe and supportive classroom environments that promote an overall sense of well-being, but also some strategies that you can use to promote social emotional competencies in your students as well as in yourself, and also how you can support students who've experienced adversities or difficulties or who might be experiencing distress, and how you as a teacher can work as part of an overall team to get students the support that they need so that they can flourish in their school environment and in their learning.
The second part of the ClassroomWISE package is a series of brief, high-impact videos with teachers and students talking about bringing mental health into the classroom and demonstrating how to engage students experiencing mental distress. The videos are in the course and available on our website.
The first mission that I have is to learn and get to know all of my students individually.
What makes me feel welcome in a classroom is that they give me a big warm smile. They ask me about my weekend.
Remember, we're talking about what we did this weekend. Josiah, I see you're really eager to share with us what you did this weekend. Can you tell us what happened?
I'm able to communicate to my students that I'm a safe person just by being emotionally available.
Teachers can make students feel more comfortable about approaching them with problems if they're more chill and open to listening to the kids.
I would want a teacher to comfort me and sit down and talk to me and give me some advice when I'm upset.
The third part of the ClassroomWISE package is our website, www.classroomwise.org, where you'll find access to the online course, a video library, and all of the course resources, including tip sheets, guidelines, and links to key materials.
We understand the important role educators and school personnel play in supporting student mental health. Our goal is to equip you with strategies to promote student well-being and support students experiencing adversity, distress, and mental health challenges in the classroom. We hope you'll find this course impactful in your work.
So over the years, I feel like mental health has become more relevant in not just adults, but in students as well. And if a teacher is dealing with students, you have to teach the whole child.
So therefore, for me to take the certain classes that I need to take to make sure that I'm equipped to, deal with whatever the kids are feeling, kind of help them cope. I think it is so important that we continue to learn about mental health and how it could relate to our students.
I think it's incredibly important to train teachers in mental health because it's kind of the element that unlocks teaching because it's all built in relationships.
On behalf of the MHTTC Network and the National Center for School Mental Health, we hope you will find this online training course impactful in supporting the mental health of your students.
On behalf of the MHTTC Network and our partner, the National Center for School Mental Health at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, welcome to ClassroomWISE. Funded by...
Okay.
Why doesn't every home in the U.S. have solar panels? The number one reason is not about sunlight or weather or even politics. It's actually just because most people don't know.
Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties. Sorry, I'm not sure what just happened. I lost my...
We're seeing your browser now Okay, there we go. Back to the PowerPoint.
Yeah, sorry, let me go. I don't know what happened. That YouTube threw me for a loop. Okay, there we are, thanks. So as we go through, we're gonna dig in. You'll see that there is a lot of evidence-based content woven into ClassroomWISE in the course that likely aligns with other evidence-based programs and practices you're already using in your schools, and may teach you some new evidence-based new evidence-based practices and best practices as well. So we're going to dig in, and so you can see how you can access this. So we'll drop the link in the chat to the ClassroomWISE website, and I invite you, if you'd like to follow along and just how to get set up to launch the course. So when you go to the ClassroomWISE website, you will see in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button called to launch the course, purple button. If you click on that, you will be directed to a new website. You'll leave the ClassroomWISE website and you'll go to the learning management system for the TTC network, basically. That's called Healthy Knowledge. And you should see the ClassroomWISE course up front, and you would click on that to get started. While you are on Healthy Knowledge, I just wanted to point out that there are so many great resources and courses and professional development opportunities available there as well that will be that you could access that might also meet some of your learning needs. So I invite you to check that out too while you're there. So once you click on launch course, if you do not already have an account with Healthy Knowledge, you will create and register for the course. And if you do have it, if you've already previously registered, then you'll just log back in and then you'll be able to go and pick up the course from the beginning or wherever you were last time. And this is what it looks like when you get there, and you'll see all the modules and you can start going through them. So a few kind of little pieces to know that there is some course narration. So you want to make sure that your speakers are on and that they're working. And there are transcripts for each of the module, which I think is a really great feature. So if you want to follow along as you're listening, or if you just really want to know what's covered in that module so you can talk to other people about it so that others know what they'll get or what's involved in that. In order to move to the next module, there are quizzes to complete with an 80% passing score. And then when you complete all of the modules, you'll be able to download a certificate of completion. So CEUs are not yet available. We are working on that. But for now, you'll be able to download a certificate. So, okay, so that's kind of the logistical pieces. So let's dig into what's in this course. So it has, as I said, it has 6 modules, and there's so much that we can cover under the umbrella of mental health literacy for educators. But there really were 2 big content areas that resurfaced over and over across our focus groups and interviews, and from the input we received from our regional and national centers. So the first big bucket of content that is so imperative is promoting the mental health and well-being of students, which includes creating safe and supportive spaces in school environments, addressing stigma in the classroom, and fostering social and emotional competencies. Our second big bucket of content is focused on understanding and supporting students who are already experiencing adversity and distress. And that includes really understanding the impact of trauma and adversity on learning and behavior of students, and linking students to support having impactful classroom strategies in your back pocket to support students with mental health concerns. So when we look at these modules laid out like this, we can see, while it wasn't specifically designed this way, but modules 1 through 3 really focus on promoting mental health and well-being for all students. And that really addresses our kind of tier 1 universal supports. And modules 4 through 6 look at understanding and supporting students experiencing adversity and distress, which really addresses some of our tier 2 and tier 3 supports. Hopefully, as you go and as you see here that you'll see that ClassroomWISE really aligns with other things that you are doing in your school with other efforts and practices and programs. And by looking at the modules, you can start to plan your professional development through the year and how ClassroomWISE might support or enhance some of what you're already doing. And again, this is a great reminder of some best practices, some skills, some refreshers. All of the modules really focus on real life skills, and the videos, as you saw in the introduction, as you'll see as you dig in, they're real teachers and real students practicing these skills. So you get to see what it looks like on the ground. And today is part 1 in a 4-part series, and we're gonna look at some of these other skills and other programs and how they integrate with ClassroomWISE in the rest of this series. So on November 11th, we're really gonna look at module 3 on social emotional learning and how it integrates with ClassroomWISE. And then on November 16th, we're gonna look at module 5 and trauma-informed practices and programs within schools and how ClassroomWISE can support that. And then our final in this series on November 30th is going to look at ClassroomWISE, how to use ClassroomWISE within an MTSS framework, the multi-tier system of support. So just to look at each individual module a little bit, module 1, is really about helping students feel safe in the classroom. Module 2 gives skills for teaching about mental health and easy tips and strategies to reframe language and address stigma. Module 3 uses the CASEL framework, the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning framework, and really aligns with SEL, or social emotional learning, that you may already be doing in your schools. And there's practical strategies for teaching SEL skills. This slide shows one lesson that aligns with one of the core competencies that CASEL lays out of self-awareness, which is a core component of social emotional learning. And again, so there's no proprietary package or no program represented in ClassroomWISE. These principles really are designed to align with best practices so that it doesn't feel like this is another thing, but yet it enhances what you've already been doing. So module 4, we move into sort of that second part of the course about supporting students who may already be experiencing distress and adversity. And so module 4 talks about typical development, signs of distress, and how to talk about mental health concerns. Next, we move into connecting with trauma-informed practices that you may already be doing in your schools and talking about the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences that you may be familiar with, and the impact on training on learning and brain development, and how to integrate trauma-informed practices in the classroom. And our last model really broadens the lens on why behaviors may be happening. So it talks about regulation and co-regulation, which are really important and helpful reminders for everyone, as well as some practical strategies that teachers can use. We know that research shows that when school staff can regulate their own emotions in the moment, it's really helpful and supportive to students who are learning those same skills. And there's just so much teaching through that model. Lastly, cultural responsiveness is integrated into all of the modules by using inclusive language, having conversations about differences in schools, and a lot of the resources enhance and the activities enhance cultural inclusiveness. And coming in the winter, early winter 2022, the Central East MHTTC, which is Region 3, in collaboration with the National Center for School Mental Health, is launching a companion online course to ClassroomWISE, which is titled Cultural Inclusiveness and Equity-WISE, or CIE-WISE, which will also come with high impact videos and a resource collection as well, and also be housed on the ClassroomWISE website. So we'll put a link in the chat to a one-pager so you can learn a little bit more, and we're all really excited to have this additional resource that will be coming early in the winter. So we said that this is a 3-part training package. So we just went over the course, which you can access online. And then there's also this video library, which is on the website. So in addition to the course, there are these high impact, brief videos, are all about 1 to 2 minutes, that incorporate both student voice and educator strategies to give teachers ideas and examples of how to have all students feel welcome in the classroom. And I really like these videos personally, because sometimes when you're trying out something new, or you want to do an activity or skill, but you haven't seen it done, it's harder to do it for the first time. But if you actually see it modeled, it's helpful to kind of know what it would look like and how you might put your own spin on it and use it yourself. So I think these videos are really helpful and they're well done. And they're threaded throughout the course. So you'll see as you go, you'll see the videos just kind of pop up, but you can also use them as standalone videos so that if you're doing professional development on a different topic, you can pull these videos in to show these skills or show these concepts. And so we'll dig into that more as we go through the series, really around the specific topics of social emotional learning and how to use those videos in different ways, as well as the trauma-informed ones. And then likewise, there's also a comprehensive resource collection that includes tip sheets, toolkits, educator-friendly examples, many of which were developed specifically for ClassroomWISE, as well as other already existing products in school mental health that accompany the online course. So as you go through the course, you'll see a symbol that lets you know there's an additional resource for that content. So then you would come to this resource collection for that module and click on the activity or the resource to be able to go through it. And again, you can use these resources even if you don't take the class. They're available on the website, and you can use them to enhance any other additional training that you might be doing. So this is just a brief example of some of the resources that you might find as you go, that you can use with ClassroomWISE, or you can use on their own. You can use them on their own. So the one on the left is Module 4, which is about understanding healthy development, and this is a resource around promoting healthy development for across the ages. The one in the middle is from Module 3. It's an SEL, an actual different activities that you might use in your classroom to enhance learning by different grade levels. And then the last resource that you see is included in Module 2, which is about teaching mental health literacy and reducing stigma. And this is a resource for addressing mental health needs of racial and ethnic minorities, which was an already existing resource that was collated to help enhance the learning and the course content. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because I would really love to hear from you all at this point. We know that you have a lot of experience rolling out mental health programs in your schools or using them. And we really want to hear how you see this fitting in or aligning to what you're already doing. Again, we really created this not to be another thing, not to be an additional burden or additional flavor of the month that you needed to implement, but really that it aligns with what's already you're doing in schools, and it enhances that. And so, if you're already doing some trauma-informed practices, then we'd love to know how this might align with what you're already doing. And if you're in a position or a role where you're, maybe having to make the case for this or why you might want to bring this into your schools, then it'd be really helpful to have some talking points. So I was hoping as we go, we're going to pull up a discussion board in a moment and have you share some of your thoughts, and that these maybe become your talking points about how you might see using ClassroomWISE, or how you might talk about ClassroomWISE. And again, we're really open to your feedback, and we want to know what you think might work or what doesn't work, and what additional supports that you might need. So we're going to put a link in the chat for a Padlet, which if you click on that link, it'll bring you to a board where you can use some sticky notes. If you're not comfortable with this, you can also share your thoughts in the chat. So I'm going to pull up this Padlet, and we can start to see. So again, we want to hear from you how you see ClassroomWISE fitting in or supporting what you're already doing, and what are some of the things that you might talk about in your school. So feel free as you come on in here to start putting on some thoughts and ways that you might talk about this. And again, the chat is a great place to do that too, if you prefer. All right, so we're starting to see some ideas. So have staff complete this at the beginning of each year. Yeah, it's a great, the timing of this last year made it such that we weren't able to start this in the very beginning of the year. And we know that professional development happens all year through, but a lot of that happens in the beginning of the year. So it's a great way to start off the year. I can see short videos being a quick and easy way to give teachers strategies during child study meetings, absolutely. So again, because those videos can be used separately, they can be pulled out for any reason. Utilizing resources for direct intervention with students Yep, and we'll talk a little bit about how to start to see what is actually, if you're using these strategies, using these skills, how we'll start to see how they impact students, and if we're seeing any changes or any different responses to teachers and students in the classroom. So great. So starting to have some ideas of how this might be integrated, how it might be something that you could utilize along with some of the other things you're already doing. Feel free to continue to put some ideas up here or in the chat. We're gonna move on though. So again, as I said, a lot of you might be in the position where you're the ones who are having to make the case for something new or for just, for support in your school around mental health. And so, as ClassroomWISE is a new resource package, we know that you might need a little support in how to introduce or implement this new resource or initiative in your school. So there are lots of resources out there. There are lots of programs that you may be thinking about or already using. And so, it's important to look at why or whether ClassroomWISE is duplicative or whether it offers something new and whether or not it's a good fit for your school. So it was really designed to eliminate a number of other barriers from mental health trainings for teachers that schools face, and really to address the needs in the field that were not being met and to add some additional value. So one of the things that we think is really great about this is that it's free. Many mental health literacy trainings are costly, and we believe that mental health knowledge should be accessible to everyone regardless of cost. We also know that everyone learns differently, and so self-paced means that it's more accessible to learning, and it's more, you will retain it a lot easier for a diverse audience because you're doing it at your own time, and you can go back and forth and relearn, rewatch different pieces if that's how you learn. The course is efficiently packed with essential information, and it averages about 6 hours of training and takes people typically about 6 hours to get through. It's available 24/7, 365 days of the year. So we know that educators really have full plates, mental health professionals have full plates. We know that sometimes it's hard to show up at a specific time, and we do thank you for showing up today. And so this course is really designed so that it can be picked up anytime that mates with your schedule. And it's really flexible in that way, and makes it more accessible for everyone's schedule. And lastly, it's interactive. So although live trainings are great, and I actually prefer them, but we know that online really helps make training accessible to as many people as possible. So we worked hard to design this with a balance of accessibility and interactivity, but really can be done on your own time whenever you are able to fit that in. So as I said, you might be needing to talk about why we should do this, or why we need to do some kind of mental health awareness at your school. And so what do you need to actually make that case? What are the important parts that you need to talk about to administrators and decision makers? So one of the most important things that you need is data. And you might already have some data on mental health in your school. You might need some additional data. And so I'm going to share some tools that are helpful for that, and that might help you collect some of that data on a local, regional, national, state level for you to use in talking about why it'd be important to talk about mental health literacy in your schools. And then, when we talk about mental health, just talking about it and talking about the need for it starts to help reduce the stigma around talking about mental health. And so that's another really big important piece to this. So some tools that might help you make your case and start collecting some data. As you saw in the video, the SHAPE system is the School Health Assessment and Performance Evaluation System that is also a free tool from the National Center for School Mental Health, and it is so fabulous. If you're not using it, whether or not you decide to use ClassroomWISE, it is a great tool for really assessing where your school is currently at, school or district, in a variety of different indicators and quality improvement measures. And there's also a resource library of screening tools and lots of different resources available to you there, and you can do the assessments as an individual or as a school or as a district. And then you also can use it, periodically to start to see how things are moving and what areas you need to focus on at different times of the year, different years. The next School Mental Health Toolkit, and we'll put these links in the chat so you have access to them if you want to check them out. This is a toolkit created by the Mountain Plains MHTTC that aligns with the best practices for school mental health and has a really easy to use needs assessment tool that you can look at to see which areas your school is already doing and doing really well, which areas you want to maybe improve or start addressing in your schools. And that will also help align with where you would see ClassroomWISE fit in. And then lastly, the National Implementation Guidance Modules, which used to be called the National School Mental Health Curriculum. This is also a tool from the National Center for School Mental Health and the Mental Health Technology Transfer Center that created, and there's 8 modules to this. And I think it's the third module is on needs assessment and resource mapping, and also has a lot of great tools embedded within it to collect data and to understand kind of what's going on in your both in your school and in your communities that support mental health in your schools. So lastly, actually, we're almost at the end of this, and we'll have lots of time for questions and comments and to hear what you're all thinking. But this, as I said, it was really designed to be flexible so your school can decide how best to use this content. And we really want to hear from you what works best. As this is new, we're also learning, and we want to see how it rolls out in different schools and different areas across the country and different regions of different parts of our region, because we know everyone is different, every school is different, and you all have different needs. And so we really would love to hear the feedback as you start to do this and what additional supports would be helpful. And so some things to think about as you consider how to use this or how to roll this out. So how will you view the modules? Will they be required or suggested in your school? Will you have everyone watch all of the modules, or will you focus on specific ones? If your school is already doing a lot of work around social emotional learning, it may be redundant to address and do the social emotional learning module, and so you don't want to waste people's time. So just to kind of think about how you'll use it and with who, and then supported applications. So we know that learning happens best when it's not just a one-time thing, when we're actually thinking about it and talking about it, integrating it and practicing it. So how will you support this program in your schools? Will you do team-based discussion opportunities, possibly like after following a module viewing, we'll talk about it, and maybe you talk about it in your grade level teams, or you talk about it within a school mental health team. Will you have consultation or coaching support? So if you have a role like that in your school, perhaps this is something that they can do as you go through the modules, that there's a coach that kind of can come into the classroom and support the use of some of these new skills. Or if you have some natural mechanisms already built into your school around peer support or shared learning, again, if that's on grade level teams or other ways that teams learn or that groups learn together in your schools. Or maybe you do some kind of a learning community across your school or your district or your location. We've heard from some schools that are planning to do that and are facilitating that themselves. And we've also been looking at doing some discussion guides so that that is an easy process for a school to do if that's how they choose. And then the implementation roles, so making sure that you have the right people on board to support this, and that's aligned with some of the other efforts and programs that you're doing throughout your school. So having the district administrators and school administrators and those in the admin roles really communicate about the alignment with the strategic priorities in your school and districts, about the student needs, and clearly explaining the purpose and why they've chosen to use ClassroomWISE. School mental health professionals really are a key role to support the application of ClassroomWISE in terms of discussing the key topics and the problem solving and supporting teachers and educators in the classroom. And then obviously really need the support and the buy-in of educators so that they can, one, provide support and provide feedback to school mental health professionals and admins about the application of ClassroomWISE with students in the grade levels, and really understanding what it looks like in the classroom, anything that they're noticing in terms of student response, adjustments that they need to be made, and they're really a critical stakeholder in feedback loops during implementation. So again, I invite you to drop in the chat and let us know what you think based on your experience of prior implementation efforts in your school or district. What do you foresee would be a successful rollout of ClassroomWISE? And what might not be successful and what might you need to be more successful? So kind of how you, please, in the chat, please, how you see a rollout being successful, what would make it successful, what we need to address some of the issues that you might foresee coming up that you've experienced in the past.
Stefanie, maybe while we wait for people to get a chance to type into the chat, there was a quick question that someone said, is there a train the trainer component, or is it literally plug in and go?
It's literally plug in and go. It's designed to be really easy. So there is not, you don't need a train the trainer because it is this online course. That's why I was talking about some of the other ways to support it. So, if you want to enhance the learning and have these conversations and have additional supports, that it's really designed to be flexible that way, but there is no need to have a trainer on it. Because it's just there and you just can do it. So you can have teachers do it individually, independently, or you can have them, do it in more of a school-wide, or more of an organized way of, providing that professional development to the whole school.
Great, thank you. We do not have any additional questions or comments right now in the chat. So if you have any questions or want to missed any of the links or anything, you can just let us know. We will put, as a reminder, this recording and the slide presentation and all of the information on our website, the Great Lakes MHTTC. It usually takes about a week to have everything put up there. Christina said we have quite a few posts in the Padlet.
Oh.
So.
Maybe even if you wanted to share, maybe we could use some of those as discussion starters for some of the participants.
Yeah, there's
okay. Okay, I'm just going to start reading these and process as we go. So we started our trauma-informed training for staff 2 years ago and implementing SEL, especially the three signature practices in K-12 classroom. ClassroomWISE will be a great resource to add to our regular staff training from the student support team at our school, especially the mental health piece. Yeah, so I like that you're seeing how it aligns. And in your school, you might decide that you don't want to focus as much on those two modules because you're already doing so much of that, and that you'll focus more on some of the other mental health pieces. And that's what I was when we get to the very end, I'm going to make a plug again for the rest of this series, which really we will dig into each of those pieces, the social emotional learning and the trauma-informed practices, and how to use ClassroomWISE to really enhance what's already going on in your school and maybe add some additional content as well. Consider the operationalization of the continuum of care, SEL, tiered practices and mental health promotion, tiered support, leveraging equity through healing, communities, restorative lines. Yes, so many of the different pieces involved in mental health supports in schools. And so we hope that you'll find that this really does leverage what you're already doing, and it really does enhance that. And then again, that last, in our series, that last piece really will be about the tiered supports and how, on finding different resources on those tiered levels of support, and especially focusing, I think with tiered supports, we're all pretty comfortable in the tier 1 and sometimes don't know as much to do in the tiers 2 and 3, which I think ClassroomWISE modules 4 through 6 help illuminate, and we'll do a little bit more of that when we talk about the MTSS. Implementation planning would definitely need to integrate with district initiatives, primarily specifically on how to streamline or ease and navigate school mental health, social emotional learning, crisis, and behavior. Yeah, so again, we know that there are so many things going on in your schools, especially this year, and especially as we really are focusing on the mental health needs of students that have come to, not that we ever were ignoring them, but we can't ignore them anymore. We have to address them in this last really challenging year and a half that we've all had. And so we know that your schools are doing so much, many of them, to address this. And it can be really overwhelming with having just different priorities, different initiatives, different, sometimes competing programs. And so we want to figure out and help you see how ClassroomWISE can integrate into that and help connect all those pieces rather than be this additional thing that adds additional stress to your plate. One more comment, I think we just met with our ISD about adding their mental health first aid training, but this will be an easy way to add and enhance for our staff trainings. Yep, mental health first aid is a great program as well. This is similar, but also enhances in some different ways. I think, those first 3 modules, especially, and, I think the free piece and the having it be whenever you're available to do it is some of the kind of value added to ClassroomWISE. I work at a private school that has not done much training around SEL and mental health, so this would be a great tool for us to start teaching and serving the whole child. Yep, so again, thank you for all of these comments. We really love to hear, as you start using it, your experiences, what you're learning, what would be helpful for integrating this, for using it in your schools, and any feedback you have for us would be really helpful, since, as I've said, this is new and we're learning too what would be most useful. So I appreciate the comments. Glad that Padlet was a great way of communicating with each other. So we've gotten to the end. We do have some time for questions if there are any additional questions. We really want to thank you all who work in the schools and work to support our students every day. We know that it is so much on you and in your plates, and we also hope that you're taking care of yourselves, and you know how appreciated you are for the work you do every day. We encourage you to reach out with questions, ideas. Please reach out to Sarah McMinn at the Great Lakes MHTTC. She'll put her, I think they'll put her email in the chat, so you can reach out if you have questions, if you want additional training or support or technical assistance around ClassroomWISE. If there are any other additional things you think would be helpful to you as you start thinking about how to use this. And we want to hear, because we know it's going to be different in every school in different parts of the country. And as I've mentioned before, we have a few more upcoming webinars and really how to integrate this into what you may already be doing in your schools. So we hope that you'll join us on some future webinars, and we'll dig a little deeper into the specific topics. And then, as said earlier, we hope you'll follow us on social media, and we thank you so much for joining us today, and we're open and available for additional questions.
And I put this in the chat, but just in case folks didn't see it, if you have a question, use the hand raise feature, which should be located at the bottom of the screen so that I can unmute you.
And I just want to, again, thank you, Stefanie, for this really great presentation and overview. And I hope that people are able to sign up for the next 3 more in-depth webinars on all of the parts of ClassroomWISE, so that they can implement this into their classrooms. And if people have questions, you can send them either to Sarah or you can respond to us. We will be happy to get those questions answered. And again, all of the slides, the recording will all be on our website. So if you work with someone or know someone who wasn't able to attend this webinar, they can certainly get on and see that one and sign up for any of the additional webinars. It's not mandatory that you have to go in a specific order either. They will all be posted on our websites.
Right, so you don't need to attend all of them. That's a great point. Thanks for adding that. You can attend any that feel relevant to where you are in your work in school mental health. Yeah.
Great. Well, if we don't have any more questions, then we can close it out.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.